Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to XJW Doc. I'm interviewing today Kamila Dydyna from Poland. She's living in Dublin, a filmmaker. She's got a new film campaign. She's trying to raise some cash to fund a short film. Hi Kamila, how are you doing?
Hi, Scott. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, can you tell us more about your campaign and what you're hoping to accomplish, what the film's about?
Sure. So the film is a short narrative drama. It's called Debutante, and it's a story that highlights the kind of overbearing control Jehovah's Witnesses use towards their members, and also it unanimously shows and highlights how they shun their members as well. It's a story of a teenage girl called Meg. It takes place in Dublin, contemporary Dublin. And Meg is madly in love with her boyfriend. They're both very devout Jehovah's Witnesses. But at one point, they give into hormones and their feelings for each other, and they spend the night together. And the core of the film is the judicial committee hearing that Meg finds herself in, and how violating and manipulative that experience is to her, what it does to her faith as a witness, what it does to her identity as a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm hoping, even though it kind of sounds harrowing, and I'm hoping it will be in many ways, at the end of the day, Meg is, I want to say, a winner in this story. And it is ultimately a story of hope and resilience rather than a story that's oriented at kind of stewing in hatred and anger at Jehovah's Witnesses, if you know what I mean. So it's told with a tremendous, I hope, amount of compassion for Jehovah's Witnesses as a group. And I'm hoping to steer clear from a unanimous painting, people as good or bad in my world, in my story. They're all, to an extent, victims as well of basically the Jehovah's Witnesses governing body, because these are the people I have the beef with, if you know what I mean, as that expression goes. But yeah, so the film is, the patron of the film, if you will, here in Ireland is Atheist Ireland, which is an organisation promoting secularism. I'm an atheist, and I just want to say, it's been 12 years since I left Jehovah's Witnesses, and I wanted to be clear from the get-go that my film does not contain a hateful or scandal-seeking message. That's not what I'm about. It's more, like I said, about compassion and raising awareness about shunning and this overbearing control among Jehovah's Witnesses. Where I'm at the moment with funding, well, as of today, I was just checking here, I raised €4,244 from 103 people from 19 countries, which is absolutely
Wow,
amazing. And I
that
am
is amazing.
so grateful. I can't tell you, it's incredible. And the messages people are sending me, sometimes they just make me want to weep, but they're beautiful. But that is just over 20% of my target, which is an ambitious €20,000, to really, really give this story cinematic quality. A short film that will travel around the world to major and what do you call it, median film festivals around the
Okay.
world, so that it's seen by as many people as possible, not only ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but everyone else, so that the awareness of that kind of darker side of Jehovah's Witnesses travels far and wide, including TV stations as well. My previous films were broadcast on Irish national TV, so I'm hoping as well
Wow.
this is going to happen with the new film. But bottom line is, guys, if you're watching this, if you've heard about the film, if you've seen the campaign, again, it's called Debutante. I really need your help because I have just over 2 weeks left, and every €5, every small bit, or what was that Tesco ad? Every little helps. I think that's the Tesco slogan. So I'm just going to use it here. Tesco is a big supermarket here. I don't know if you
Okay.
have it in America. It's
I
like
don't think we do.
Costco.
Okay. Every little bit helps. So what do you get if you were to help fund your film? What does the person get in return?
So for a €10 contribution, you get to see the film as soon as it's completed, before it's released in major film festivals.
That's actually really special, because usually you're never allowed to distribute if you're in a film festival or show the film until after it's done in the circuit.
So that's the very special kind of perk, if you will. I hate that word, but it's a very special gift I have for you guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you contribute a tenner and you get to see the film before it premieres, the deal is between you and me that you will not post it on Facebook, because then it'll get disqualified from every festival in the world, just so you know. So it's just going to be for you. But and it goes all the way, through like 20, 50, €100 and more if you can, all the way to like premiere invitations in Dublin, signed copies of the script, blooper reels from the set, and this type of stuff. I wasn't able to get on board any fancy company with their products, because as you can imagine, I've done it before. Yeah, but people are like, oh my God, Jehovah's Witnesses, that's a hot, controversial subject. They're kind of delicate. So I'm giving as gifts, if you will, or things in exchange for contributions, whatever I can from the kind of filmmaking perspective. And I really hope you're going to see the value in there and enjoy that as well. The most popular perk is called an elder.
So you get to be an elder if you give a certain amount of money.
Just for a bit of fun, Okay. That's where I'm at the moment. And again, I just want to highlight my gratitude to everyone who's contributed so far. You guys are amazing.
In your description there, you talked about your hope to affect change, and it sounds like shunning is a theme that still might affect you. Can you speak to that? Like, what is, after 12 years of being out of the religion, what is it about the themes in this short film you've written that are maybe personal or affect you to this day?
Do you know what? I was kind of lucky in terms of, my personal experience with shunning, in the sense of, I didn't get kicked out of the house as some people do. You know what I mean? Like,
how old were you?
I was kind of 25, 26 when I was drifting away or fading away. So, even at that, I was fairly independent. I did lose a number of friends that I dearly miss. And like I was saying in some other conversations I had in the recent weeks, I kind of check out or Google their names or look them up on Facebook every year or every 2 years, like a stalker, to see if they left maybe.
Oh, they're doing the same to you, don't worry.
Oh, God. But anyway, you know what? The shunning aspect appears in the film because it really annoys me personally how Jehovah's Witnesses lie that they don't shun people. Literally...
It's the most normal thing that they do. They all do this. And they blatantly say they don't. It's ridiculous. My hands are actually sweating from anger when I think about it. And like I said, again, I'm not about hating Jehovah's Witnesses, because I do think ultimately as an entire group, exactly, they're trapped. Yeah. But what bothers me is I see a lot of people around the world perceive Jehovah's Witnesses as weird but harmless, all things considered. Right. They're clean, they're neat, they're hardworking and honest and blah, 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 so they're good people. No, there's more to it, and I want to... I want to speak about it in a way that's going to get heard around the world. That's really why, one of the main reasons why I'm making the film. And also, I see it so often, people who have left Jehovah's Witnesses have been shunned and they are struggling. Just the other day, I saw on Facebook a message, a profile of an ex-JW who, really struggles. He was suicidal, I think, at some point. He was posting messages that, it's like looking into an abyss of misery and despair. And, I'm hoping that to some extent my film will bring comfort to people like that, because they will be able to see it's going to be an on-screen representation of a collective experience that hasn't really been seen before in that particular way. Yeah.
And I want them to feel they're not alone. That it's okay, that you can survive it as well, and thrive after, hopefully.
Personally, I'm really happy that you're tackling that topic, because that was a very similar motivation to make my feature documentary that I eventually I crowdfunded and raised money and then went and shot this feature, and it's still being edited because we didn't fund the editing, we only funded the shooting.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah, but it's on the same topic. So like the main underlying theme of that film or that documentary is shunning, and how it still affects people, and how dark it is. And it's the only, like, I wouldn't care at all personally about this religion, even though I grew up in it and eventually left it around the same age you were, and about the same time probably, except for that my family turned extreme became proper Jehovah's Witnesses and started shunning, and it's like dismantled all of my familial relationships to the point where they're pretty much non-existent. So now I have an axe to grind with the religion, because they shun extremely. They're extreme in the way they shun. They're not just shunning casually. Like, they go all the way till we won't talk to you until we're on our deathbed, and we probably won't talk to you then either. So
I hear you. Yeah, it's I think it's inhuman, and it's I actually read some research material that it causes physical damage. The pain of being shunned, your body reacts to it as it would to physical hurt or like an illness. It's not just, it's similar, I think, to when there's research talking about what having a broken heart does to your body physically and medically, and people saying, oh, he died of a broken heart. Apparently it's more than a metaphor. So similarly, being shunned and expelled, the effects of that are horrendous. But also, what I'm fascinated by, the level of control and fear that the religion can instill in people, that they would go as far, like you said, and shun their own children, or close family members. It's literally unthinkable, nearly.
Right.
Although I'm saying it, and I did it. I shunned a close friend of mine when I was like 16. So I'm embarrassed about it. But yeah.
Well, you're in training. You're a shunner in training at that age.
Oh my God.
I did the same thing to a cousin, but it's like I didn't understand, really, when I was a teenager.
I just found a diary entry kind of a year ago when I was like going back to, researching my past in preparation for the film. And I literally had an entry. It didn't say Dear Diary, but it said something like, today at the meeting, my friend X got announced that she's disfellowshipped, and I'm just so devastated. And I went on and on about it, and it was terrible. And anyway.
Actually, I want to talk to you about that. So did you write the script yourself?
I did, yes. I've written, this is my 5th script.
For narrative shorts?
Actually, one of them is a feature, but the others are shorts, yeah. And
the other part of the film, from what I understand about Debutante, is the elders meeting.
The judicial committee.
Judicial committee.
Yeah.
The most feared elders meeting. Did you
In Poland, it's called the three ties meeting. The ties, the 3 ties.
Makes sense. Usually, there's always 3 elders, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
At minimum. Did you go through that experience yourself?
I didn't. No, I didn't. Would you believe I was too holy? I was holier than holy. I was so obnoxiously proper when I was a Jehovah's Witness. When I think about it, it's like, I had a nickname, Nun, among other witnesses, young witnesses that I hung out with. That should tell you enough, But I faded myself in the end. But I was basically too, I did things that were not allowed, but I would never be, let's say,
caught.
Brave. No. If I did have sex that is like illegal, I would march straight, literally straight after, out of the bed and to the elders, because I was that type of person.
Wow.
I couldn't. It would tear me apart.
Yeah.
Because I was just so deeply indoctrinated and had this kind of crazy need for honesty BS going, but lol. But anyway, so yeah, but a close friend of mine went through that experience, and a number of other people I know and knew back in Poland. And the film isn't a story of one person, certainly not my story, although it is loosely based more on like what went on in my mind as I was deciding gradually to leave, or as I was discovering, my cognitive dissonance and kind of stuff about the religion that changed my thinking about it. In that way, the character of Meg has a lot in common with me, and loosely is based on some of my own experience. But as such, I call it, it's based on the collective experience of Jehovah's Witnesses I knew when it comes to the judicial committee.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
I mean, if you're going to break a rule, you're basically going to face the committee. It's really common. It's not like a stretch. Your story is not stretching the truth or stretching
Certainly
reality.
Not. No,
yeah, that's very normal.
Certainly not. Yeah. Although I'll tell you, just the other day, somebody sent me a message and it blew my mind. I got so angry. Apparently, male Jehovah's Witnesses who have sex with a girl, literally somebody wrote to me, I asked my boyfriend, the two of them had sex, and the girl got questioned in this horrendous detail, the way, stuff that just, ugh. And she asked him, and what about your committee? And he said, well, they just asked me if I had sex, and I said yes, and that was pretty much it.
Whoa, really?
Can you imagine?
Wow.
Perverts. Oh.
They're so perverted.
Yeah. So
they're only asking. They're asking for like a personally described sexual experience, like the graphic details of. They basically want a porn. They want to listen to a porno.
I know it's
gross.
So sick.
Of a virgin, which makes it even more disgusting.
I know.
And usually a teenager at that.
Literally, yeah.
It's gross.
Anyway.
Yeah, the world we come from. So I wanted to ask you about, you talked about going to the film festivals. Can you tell, like, I'm still learning about how this works. You've been down this road many years now, putting films in film festivals.
I wouldn't say many years, but a few years.
A few films, maybe.
Yeah.
And I generally get the pathway to screening a film. But my question I've written down is, how will you distribute? So the pathway I hear is that you entered into as many film festivals. You start at the top, go to the top film festivals, and send it in, pay the money, get rejected. They probably don't even watch it. Send it in, pay the money, they don't watch it. Until finally someone watches it because maybe they like you or they know you, or someone recommended to actually watch the film for $100. So you're paying all these people $100 to watch the film, and then eventually some film festivals pick it up and either want 100% of the rights or they let you put it into all these other film festivals. And then whichever ones you get nominated in, or you qualify, or you win like a nomination, then you get to put that little symbol on your film that's like, was nominated best picture, best acting, best whatever. And then once you get all that, after like a year, you get all those you win all those little stickers, then someone might pick you up, like Netflix or a big distribution firm or an agency like a network TV or something. Does that sound about right?
Do you know what? Ultimately, I kind of based my plans for this film, Debutante, on my experience with my previous two short films, and I want to build on it.
Okay.
So very briefly, both my films, even though like I only did my first film, when was it? 2015. So what, almost 5 years ago now. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I just really wanted to make this film. And I was really lucky because it turned out really well, and it got accepted into a lot of festivals, not just in Ireland, but in Europe and the US and Australia. And it got nominated for awards, blah, 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 blah. It was great. So I know for a fact that the new film will be broadcast on Irish TV, just because both of my previous films were. And, after... Yeah. Getting two of your films broadcast, you kind of have this relationship with the network or the TV station. So they would kind of wait for your next film. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully not, hopefully. But I'm fairly confident that the Irish national TV will pick it up. My films also were broadcast on a channel called Short HD, and it's a US cable network. I actually don't exactly know where it's available, but I was told it's available in 40 million homes. So
wow, I love short films. I had no idea.
Yeah, it is a fair, a reach there as well. Then there is the matter of film festivals, of course. So again, I will be starting with the kind of higher tier festivals, like, it'd be amazing to get into Tribeca, for example.
Yeah.
But there are, it's a bit easier, I think, to begin with, to get into Irish and UK film festivals for me, just because I'm here. Yeah. And I have a relationship with a number of those festivals. For example, one of my films was screened in festivals. Actually, yeah, one of them was screened in festivals in London, another in Belfast, and obviously in Dublin, both of them. So these would be the kind of cities that I would start with. But then there's New York, there's Seattle, LA, of course, Chicago. My films were screened in Rome, in Luxembourg, in Melbourne. I'm trying to remember now. Wow. But basically all of these festivals that my films have already screened in, I will go back to them. And it's kind of more likely when you've already been screened, they will accept you again, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And from what I've seen, the way this works, if you screen in a few, like you said, in a few film festivals that are high kind of level, then the word spreads.
Right.
And often you get invited to festivals without even submitting.
Oh wow! Cool.
I can't say that happened a huge amount in my case, but it is a thing.
Yeah.
So ultimately, long story short, I want to submit the film to as many film festivals around the entire world as I can, and have it subtitled in all the languages, as many as I can. Procure, if you will, translations for, because I want that message to be seen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, at the end of this kind of festival journey, which typically lasts between a year and 2 years, it'll be available online for anyone to see. Okay. And I'll make sure that that link is distributed through all kinds of Facebook groups of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and Reddit forums and whatnot, to make sure that it's available, because ultimately it's a big reason why I'm making it.
Yeah.
So, and ideally I'd love to be able to pitch it to TV networks around the world as well, not just in Ireland. And sure, if I can get through Netflix, totally, or Hulu, that would be something I'd try for as well. But it's a different type of journey to a feature film, where you have like a theatrical distribution, or if you have a studio behind you, that's completely different. So a short film journey is a bit more unpredictable. But what I can tell you is I will do my best to get it out there as much as I can. And this would, that's what brings me to the funding again. The more money I raise, the better quality in terms of production quality this film will be, which means it's more likely to be accepted into festivals, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
there's that tendency. With more money, what do you think you can get? Can you describe to everyone? What are some of the key items or key things you're looking for? Of course,
yeah. So I'm lucky because a lot of the crew members I can basically coerce into working with me, because exactly, because we're friends, because I worked with them on commercials and other documentaries or short films in the past 4 years. But there are things that need to be paid for, and for example, lighting equipment is critical. A well-lit scene looks like $1 million. A badly lit scene speaks, this is an amateur film. And I don't know about you, but when I see a badly lit film, when it just looks awful, it's like, it's just not that engaging.
Sure.
So lighting is one of the key things. Clearing rights to a piece of music. I don't want to tell you what it is because I don't want to do a spoiler, but it's a very well-known piece of music from an American musical from the 60s, I think. It's more that type of thing than, say, Ed Sheeran. I'm not after that type of music. Just saying, no offense, Ed. But
I
yeah,
hope
so
he's
that,
watching.
oh my God, you're great, Ed. So anyway, so clearing rights to the music, there's only so much kind of smiling and going, this is a great project you can do. You sometimes you just have to pay to get
Yeah.
something like
Right.
the rights to the music. And then obviously I'm very ambitious when it comes to actors that I want to cast for the job. I don't want to tell you who they are, but for two main roles, the teenager Meg and the lead elder, I have in mind actors that are very known, very experienced, and very amazing, and they're both Irish. But to approach them, I need a bit of more money to even talk to their agents. So this
Okay.
is the type of stuff that I'm talking about, and obviously the boring things like insurance and catering and a nice lens on the camera,
Sure.
and there's the edit as well. Money is the difference between getting a short film edited in 2 weeks and a year,
Yeah.
if you get my drift. So there.
Okay. That's great. I think people don't necessarily understand why things cost so much or how the whole system
Yeah.
works.
Oh, do you know what? I've had these comments from my darling Polish people. My what do you call it?
My hometown.
My not even hometown. No, in my hometown, nobody knows I'm doing the film yet. It's a long story. Let's not talk about it. But I think members of my congregation would literally die of a shock if they found out. But anyway, my lovely Polish friends, not friends, but strangers on the internet say things like, 20,000 euro? For this much money, a Polish family of four can live for an entire year. And here, Mrs. Director wants 20 grand for a film. Ha! The cheek of her. This is my favorite comment. I actually learned it by heart. So just so you know, when I'm raising 20,000 euro, the actual budget of the film is 18,500 after Indiegogo fees. And for a 4 to 5 day shoot with post production, that money just goes like that.
How many people do you think would be involved if everything goes, if you get all the money and you can get what you want?
Yeah.
How many people are involved in this film?
Crew-wise, I'm thinking up to 20. Maybe I can get by with 15.
Okay, so
Actors.
we're talking like 1,000 to 1,500 euros per person.
Well,
Something like
the standard kind of rate in Dublin, in Ireland, for a short film, a day on a short film for a crew member is 120 euro, and that's like peanuts for people here. That people get paid like crazy money when they do like commercials or
Right.
funded feature films and stuff. So that gives you an idea. If I need somebody for 4 to 5 days, plus all the costs of like locations and insurance and props, if any, costumes. Although I'm hoping that that'll be not so crazy. It's not a period drama,
Right.
but yeah, it adds up. And most of all, post production, color grade, music, all that stuff.
Right.
It really 18,500 is not a lot of money to make a good quality short film.
Yeah.
Just gonna say that again.
In that person's comment, it just sounds like she thinks you're getting the money and you're going to do everything yourself. That's not how narrative films work. On a documentary, for the most part, it's me and an editor and maybe like a lighting person or like someone to help out or a second shooter. It's like 3-4 people to do a documentary. But you need way more people, 10 times more people to make a narrative, short or long feature film, whatever.
You do, and it's not, it's not being like, what's the word? It's not about me being lazy and wanting to have an assistant for everything. No way. I literally come from, a background where I literally do everything myself as much as I can.
Yeah.
But yourself, like you said, it's even on a documentary. Film is such a medium. It takes a group of people that come together to realize a vision. I've been reading this amazing book by this German documentary filmmaker. Maybe you know him. His name's Werner Herzog.
Of course, he's super famous. Yeah. He's amazing.
This man is like my... Yeah. So he was talking about it. How film is a dynamic medium, and it literally takes a gigantic amount of people and effort to shape something into a story and deliver it. So by all means, I'm only one of many people that would need to be involved to make it happen. Yeah. And also, can I just say, I'm not making any money on this. Like,
right.
If you saw my budget, there is no line where it says director fee maybe €1 to be symbolic, because all the money goes onto the production side and the things we talked about. Just wanted to put it out there as well. If any Polish people are watching.
It's good to be clear, yeah. So with when you were leaving or after you've left, how do you find the ex-Jehovah's Witness community online? Not how did you find it, but like, what do you think of it?
Do you know what? It's funny, when I started kind of preparing more into, or preparing the production process of the film more and researching as well for my script, it was incredible. Like I had this idea of XJW community being smaller, first of all, than it is. I realized it's huge, it's international, and it's growing, and it's incredible. What I did find, to my surprise, is that it seems to be. Can I be honest, or should I just speak like? They're all amazing, and it's so inspiring. It is inspiring. But what I did find, to my surprise, is that there seem to be fractions within it, and there are people who maybe circle around, this activist or that activist, or people who like, this YouTube channel but not that YouTube channel, and it's fascinating in a way. It's a bit sad, makes me sad, because it creates unnecessary tensions, I think. Yeah. After all, we all have common experience, and why would we add to the hurt we've already suffered with like some sort of bickering and lack of mutual support, if you will. But the main thing I think that I observed is there are people who have moved on and people who haven't. And it's regardless of the amount of time that has passed since they left.
Interesting.
I find it fascinating from like an anthropological nearly, or if I were doing social studies, it's really fascinating. It's like I see there are a lot of people whose identity used to be built on the fact that they are Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's like one side of a coin. But then they left, and now their entire identity is built around not being a Jehovah's Witness, and their life and everything they do is in opposition to Jehovah's Witnesses. Right. And I'm talking about people who only and exclusively kind of stew in hatred towards Jehovah's Witnesses and in attacking them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Another pedophile, sentence. Another person died because of no blood transfusion. And it's only
they react to the organization, to the religion.
Yeah, and you know what? I get it. I was angry for years. I was raging, literally for years at Jehovah's Witnesses, and I get that. It's part of the process, and I respect that. Yeah. And sure, here I am making a film that's kind of angry at Jehovah's Witnesses. So I don't mean to be, what's the word, dishonest or fake or whatever. But right. I also feel like there is a need to let go at some point and embrace other aspects of life than being an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Because life is like, there's so much to offer.
Go find something that is fun or interesting or you can be passionate about. Put your energy into something that you care about.
I think that's where the healing is,
Right, exactly.
So this was kind of just my observation from, interacting with the community. But bottom line is, those people are amazing, and I feel a huge sense of community and belonging with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses around the world. I can't tell you, Scott, the people who reached out to me or who I was able to get in touch with in the process of even creating the campaign, people who translated for free the campaign into 6 languages.
It's amazing,
and there's
right?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
The campaign, I babble. There's a long text, and there's a video with subtitles. Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, French, and Polish. Well, I did Polish myself, but a friend helped me, a Polish friend who isn't even a Jehovah's Witness. And that's only, a small kind of aspect of it. It blows my mind, the generosity, the selflessness, the support I've received. And then there's people who write to me with their heartbreaking stories. When I read those messages, I just feel love and I typically send them the song by Nick Cave, Into My Arms. If you know that song, I love it so much. It's like, guys, I love you.
You should
So
send it to me. I'll look it up. I'll
I,
look.
so if you summing this up, a lot of kind of facets or aspects to my experience of the XJW community, but bottom line is they're amazing and I love them.
Yeah, I think everything you said is true, and I had a very similar viewpoint and experience. And I think that the loudest people and the ones that are the most angry aren't representative of the greater community. That's the piece of the puzzle, that's like 20%. But like the vast majority, I think 70-80% of the Jehovah's Witnesses have gone and moved on and are just, they're checking in once in a while to see what's happening in the Jehovah's Witness world, but they have their own life.
That's it. Yeah. And that's healthy.
It's healthy. They're not angry, so they're not really writing much. So like the people that you read the most and make the most posts are a minority, I think. And the fraction and the tension that's existing in the online activist community is a very small portion of the people.
Yeah, although like you said, they're the most visible ones. Yeah. Well, ego. Who doesn't have a problem with ego?
Yeah. Well, here we are, like on a TV show.
If I could, I'd do like an emoticon now with like a halo around my head.
So, are you acting in anything else, or do you have any other projects?
Acting is something I am very passionate about, and I've been doing it for a number of years. I went to acting schools in Dublin as well. I do mostly theatre plays, some short films and commercials so far, but I'm not going to be acting in this film. After all, the lead character is a teenager, and I am a sweet 37, so... But also, obviously, I want to focus on directing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I love acting. It allows me to... feel like I'm able to experience multiple lifetimes in the space of the same time by, being other people. And it kind of feels like I'm catching up on the years I lost as a Jehovah's Witness.
By playing someone else?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. I feel like my life is kind of shortened because of the time when I was a witness. So now being able to, experience different lives. I played a nun. I played a wife of a serial killer. It was awesome. It's like, oh, so that's what it would be like.
Interesting. I looked at your website when I came across your film campaign, and it was very impressive to see so many different kinds of films that either you acted in or were directed or somehow were involved in. Very high production quality. Like, I'm very impressed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's lovely to hear. Thanks a million.
Are there any other Jehovah's or ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are doing film or that you are aware of, or what do you think of their work?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Apostasy by Daniel. I think it's Coco Taylor. If I'm butchering your name, Daniel, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I watched it recently, and it just blew my mind. It had so much heart, and it was so powerful and so real and true in its, depiction of what it's like inside the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. So huge fan of that film.
I was very surprised by that film. I was also very surprised by, from a visual perspective, I really love the DP work on it, the director of photography. Like, his style was so consistent and just a different kind of composition, but it was consistent throughout the whole film, and the coloring was like super on point.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, I'm not sure, but I think there was no music or very little music, which kind of, highlights the direness of... Yeah. I think there's a scene where they're dancing at this.
Do they do a congregation song? Do they sing and like everyone's trying not to be the loudest one? It's like everyone's.
I can't remember that bit, but I just do remember just like a dancing thing. Okay. It's like
Yeah, I don't remember it either, but.
But to be honest with you, I don't know. Like, I know of quite a high number of documentaries about Jehovah's Witnesses, which have been made or are being made, including yours, which I think are incredibly important, necessary voice. And it's like the voice of saying what it's like to be a Jehovah's Witnesses and what's harmful about what they do is on the rise like a wave at the moment in creative arts as well. I mean, there's the documentary filmmaking, there's the drama or narrative filmmaking. There are books like Amber Scorer's book,
Yeah.
Leading Witness, and I think
She
it's
blows
just
my
one of
mind.
many.
Like her
Yeah,
ability
she's
to
incredibly inspiring.
have composure and to clearly say exactly what she means and tell her story concisely with power. She's very important right now, I think.
Exactly, and the more people like that, speak about their experience of being a Jehovah's Witness, the I want to say, it's terrible. I'm not very hopeful that Jehovah's Witnesses will change their policies when it comes to shunning. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. No, I literally just have to realize at this
no
moment.
one on the inside of the religion is going to change that religion. The only people that change that religion are people on the outside.
Yeah,
Like
you're right.
if like I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. I feel like I am still, even though I've been out for over a decade. And but like if we do nothing, nothing changes. If we do something, there's a potential that they change because they don't like the bad publicity and they can't stop bad publicity. They can just spin it. They can change they often will change their policies, but spin it as if it's their own new idea. But usually it's from outside pressure, from the government or from activists.
Yeah, but there's also, I think, there's this kind of thing that fills me with misery where they use, this, I think Lloyd Evans called it something like persecution porn or something like that, where they, the thing in Brazil came up recently where I think it's like a Bethel visit and they have an exhibit that's a prison. And
I've heard about it.
Visiting it, take like selfies in prison, and like literally I saw it on the internet or like Facebook screenshots where a brother has like this sad face behind the bars. That's anyway, but
like they hope to be martyrs one day when they get their chance.
But the more I feel a fear, the more we raise our voices, the more they will use it to feed that persecution complex. That this is the sign that we are a true religion because we're being what's the word? Persecuted and criticized.
Well, that's all they've got left because prophecy didn't do anything good for them. End of the world didn't happen.
I kind of stopped keeping up with the overlapping generation BS, but I heard from what I've seen, it's like
in our time, it changed 2 or 3 times as well. Like it was supposed to be millions now living will never die, and then it was, well, you had to have been alive at that time to know how important that one convention was, and someone said some words at a convention, and that was like what that fulfilled Bible prophecy.
Do you know what I remember?
It didn't make any sense.
I remember that my mind was in a state of some sort of a haze, and I didn't. When we were discussing I think there was a watchtower when I was an active witness that was slightly changing the prophecy, but I couldn't even tell you what, I can't remember. But I just remembered a state of a haze and nothing like a critical reading of it going, hang on a second, this, what? None of that. It was all like, yeah, yes, okay, yeah, sure. It's just like a what do you call it? Like a rag doll on
strings.
Those things, Thank you. Yeah. And you just nod. Yeah. That's what I remember. So I imagine that's what it's like. Whatever is being fed. Although one thing that drives me crazy is the changing doctrine on blood. It's like can you imagine?
I remember when it was you can't have any, 100%. Like it's off limits. If you do it, you're gonna die. Like God will kill you personally, or Jesus will do the dirty work.
Yeah.
And then it was, well, maybe let's learn about the science of blood. And it's like platelets, it's up to your conscience. Whole blood, not acceptable. But these components are, and to the point where like, you can't. If you're being honest, you can't have aspirin. You can't have ibuprofen. All these things have like blood derivatives from cows in them.
They do? I didn't even know. Cool.
Something. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the facts, but some Lloyd Evans could tell you probably the facts about that. But, and then at some point it was like, it's really a conscience matter. We just shouldn't talk about it anymore. But like at least 30,000 people have died from this. Like it's crazy.
I'll tell you, all I can think of when I think of this changing doctrine is people who say in the 1970s or 80s lost their wives, husbands, children, because of doctrine being the way it was.
Right.
And now
Now it's
they
loose.
take a new watchtower, and now their child could have lived.
It must be
I can't
devastating.
imagine what it does to your head. I mean, I honestly, like, if it happened to me, I would be possibly turned into an extremist. Just saying. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. It's just
Oh, like
yeah.
if it happened to your family member, you mean? Like you would.
Yeah, of course, as in,
Yeah.
if I was still alive. But yeah, when I think of the times when I did carry the no blood card, it fills me with terror,
Right. I mean, I'm not the only one who said this, but I've definitely thought it since I left. Like that no blood card represents basically the acceptance that you're allowing yourself to die and refuse medical care. And then it has like my number of my family in it, when I had it. And as soon as every time I fill out I do a lot of extreme sports like rock climbing, and I have to fill out these
cool.
waivers, right? So
Yeah.
it says like, who's your emergency contact? And I have not put a family member on that for 10 years because they'll say like no blood, It's crazy. Like they'll like off you. That's dark.
Really sad.
Sorry, I'm really good at that.
Fair play. I mean,
That's not the note we should end on though.
hug. I heard something. I can't tell you which country it was, but I know for a fact that one of the countries in Europe has a thing going where active Jehovah's Witnesses go to a hospital and have a preemptive agreement and a conversation with doctors there, saying, in case I end up here and I need blood, give it to me.
Oh,
even
wow.
if I say no,
And
or
they
even
have
if
the thing on them.
it's like a secret. It's not just a unique, like, one case. It's apparently it's a phenomenon.
Wow.
In that particular country in Europe.
That's so
where
interesting. What country?
I know, but I can't tell you just in case, because we have to protect the identity of the good people that are leaking this information.
Yeah.
But basically, witnesses go and secretly ask their doctors, in case I need blood, just give it to me and don't listen to what I say, type of thing. So yeah, anyway. All I can think about is you not have your family members on your emergency contacts. That's terrible.
Would you use yours?
Well, it's an easy answer for me. I'm gonna use. I use my boyfriend's contact details because I live in Ireland and he lives with me, and we're in Dublin. My mom doesn't speak English. My dad has died many, many years ago. My mom is a witness, but she doesn't speak English. So that's my excuse, if you know what I mean. That's my easy way out.
That's the go-to, because this person is now, connected to you in an intimate way, or at least, deeper way.
Yeah.
And they probably care. So you'll do the best.
Also, he's going to shoot the film, so as a cinematographer, so I think he cares. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you have people around you that are not Jehovah's Witnesses that you can put down as emergency contacts, by the way.
I'm so far from home. I haven't met a Jehovah's Witness in so many years.
Oh, no way.
I've met so many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses over the years, surprisingly, like out of the blue. Like I was even dating a girl. We both were ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, didn't know for months.
No way, wow.
I was living with a woman from England when I was in Vietnam for months. We partied together, hung out all the time. Never I had an idea that we're both ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. So like that keeps happening to me.
That's mad.
Yeah. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are interesting because they travel a lot. I traveled a lot. I've lived abroad a lot. So I meet other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses sort of randomly that are also just untethered from the roots of a normal life. They're like, I no longer have these connections, so I might as well just go do what I've always wanted to do, which is see the world or go try this new thing.
Yeah, I think it's. I understand that. I think it's like the one of natural reactions to a stifled life.
Yeah.
That we were kind of conditioned to live.
You're giving up on your hopes and dreams here every single day to do this religion.
Yeah.
And now that you don't have to do that anymore, you're not making that decision to do that anymore. You can now do
Give
whatever
me
you
the
want.
world.
Yeah, I want all of
Yeah,
it. Bring it.
exactly.
Let's do it as fast, as hard as possible.
That's why, I love living in Dublin, and in Ireland, because, aside the cool factor of this being a country I really love, and people are great. That aside, it was just so much easier to transition from being a Jehovah's Witness to being a non-Jehovah's Witness, because I came here in the very same year. That identity thing happened.
It's perfect. It's the right move, I think. Just
handy.
go.
I know not everyone can do it though, so
That's true. It's easy advice if you've done it, but
I'm lucky. Yeah,
it's scary for someone else who hasn't done it, or maybe they just can't because of their life situation.
I know.
But wow, does it make it easier? I see all the time on the groups, people ask, should I write a letter of disassociation, or should I go through with the elders meeting, the judicial committee, or should I just fade? And I always just say, just
fade.
Just buy a plane ticket and just leave. Because as soon as you do that, you no longer have to play the game, and you never have those people bothering you.
It's like you slip from under the grasp. They can't reach you. I agree completely. And actually, when I was talking to Jason Wynn, the Irish XJW, who is the founder of avoidjw.org, incredibly inspiring man. But one thing he did say was the advice to any Jehovah's Witness who is summoned to a judicial committee: don't go.
Right.
They can't make you. And if you do go, you give over the control, and they will strip you of dignity. They will interrogate you for whatever sin you've done. And I'm sorry, can I say the BS word fully? It's bullshit. It's not a real thing. They have no right to judge you, and just don't do it. Don't go. Right. Fade away. And also, if you fade away, they can't typically disfellowship you, which means whoever you have in the religion may not be as compelled to shun you. So,
I completely agree. Just don't play their game, because they're just trying to manipulate you. If you go to that judicial meeting, they're probably going to punish you. Almost guaranteed. It's 95% of the time you get punished.
Yeah,
and
they will make you feel
really
like
badly.
shit. Yeah, exactly. I did write a letter, but only I don't know, I can't remember now, but I think maybe at least 5 years ago or so. But I was so kind of far out that I couldn't care what they would have done to me. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I did write a very briefly worded letter. I'm not something like, I'm no longer a Jehovah's Witness, please destroy my personal information or remove my. I doubt they did it. It was like a formality,
It's like they won't do it just because you asked them to. It's like, ooh, let's stick it to her.
Do you know what I found out actually? That's a crazy thing actually. Basically, my home congregation where I grew up and where I was very loved and very popular, without sounding obnoxious, they just loved me and it was awesome.
Sure.
The elders in there that I sent the letter to didn't action it. They sent it off to a congregation in a city where I was studying at university, which is 2 hours away. And in that congregation, they said, Kamila Dydyna is no longer a Jehovah's Witness. But not in my home congregation. So people in my home congregation, apparently, some of them still think, that I kind of faded, but it's just I'm still good, and they still think of me fondly. That's why I was telling you, if they knew that I'm making this film, a lot of elderly sisters, I think they just need doctor's attention. So I don't want to do that, Anyway.
I was avoiding, with my project, people from my hometown or even my immediate family knowing that I was doing it. But when I did the campaign, I was like, I can't just make posts and then specifically not let them see it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna come out with it all the way. This is what I'm doing.
How did that get received by your family? Jesus, oh my.
I visited my small hometown a couple months after that, and people were kind of shocked, I think, by it, because they probably still had all these good memories of me being a good witness. And I still care about those people to some degree. I haven't talked to them in a decade.
Did they actively approach you and gave out to you, or?
No, I mean, I I know a bunch of other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in my hometown that still have communication with their families. So like I started seeing other Jehovah's Witnesses interacting with like grandchildren or nieces and nephews at like a public thing. And there's one woman in particular kind of reacted, like she like almost took a step back when she saw me, like it was a shock, because she's like been spreading all the news about my project to my own family. But then she even came and said hi, so it was okay. And I think she even hugged me. So, you know, there's the whole point of this is that we're trying to break the barrier, you know. I'm not trying to like scare them. I want to like bring awareness and like make everyone just have a conversation. Let's use diplomacy instead of the solitary confinement. How about that?
I hear you. Yeah. And you know, I like to think that, you know, speaking about something even in whisper or at least in a balanced voice is much more likely to be heard than when you scream and shove the message down people's throats. That's why, you know, I'm hoping my film is going to be kind of gentle in that way, a delicate message, although very strong one too.
Yeah.
No pressure how I'm going to achieve that, but
yeah, I'm very excited about your film. I really hope it gets made, and I'm gonna contribute, and I hope that everyone else does too. Even if it's so just much. You know, $1 or $5 or whatever, you know, toss some money.
Every little helps, honestly. There's no, that's, you know, crowdfunding, all that stuff.
That's the whole point, right?
Thank you so much.
A little bit from everybody.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a great interview. Thank you, Kamila, for hanging out.
Thank you so much, Scott.